Imagine you are a Mongol general in the 13th century, riding at the head of one of the most formidable armies in history. You've conquered vast swathes of Asia, laid waste to empires, and now you gaze south toward India, a land of immense wealth and opportunity. Yet, despite the might of your horde, India remains unconquered. Why? This is the story of how India stood firm against the unstoppable Mongols and the unique challenges that thwarted their ambitions. By the 13th century, the Mongol Empire had become a force of nature. Under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongols had carved out the largest contiguous empire the world had ever seen. They annihilated the Khwarezmian Empire, humbled the Song dynasty of China, and even pushed into the heart of Europe. Their armies were swift, disciplined, and devastatingly effective, utilizing psychological warfare, cunning tactics, and siege technologies far ahead of their time. India, with its fertile plains, thriving trade, and famed riches, was a tempting target. Yet despite repeated attempts, the Mongols failed to extend their dominion into the Indian subcontinent. This failure wasn't due to a lack of trying. It was due to a perfect storm of geographical, political, and cultural challenges. The Indian subcontinent is shielded by formidable natural barriers. The towering Himalayas to the north and the vast Thar Desert in the west form nearly impassable obstacles for any invading force. While the Mongols had traversed deserts and mountains before, the geography of India presented unique challenges. The Indus and Ganges river systems created fertile plains, but they also turned into a swampy nightmare during monsoon seasons. The intense heat and humidity of the Indian climate were entirely foreign to the steppe-hardened Mongols, whose strategies and equipment were optimized for the cooler, drier climates of Central Asia. Their horses, so crucial to their mobility, often succumbed to the unfamiliar diseases and terrain. India's political landscape during the Mongol invasions was far from unified. The Delhi Sultanate, a Muslim-ruled empire established in northern India, was the dominant power, but it was surrounded by smaller Hindu kingdoms and other rivals. Despite internal divisions, the Delhi Sultanate emerged as the Mongols' primary adversary, particularly under the leadership of two key rulers, Ghiyath al-Din Balban and Alauddin Khalji. Balban, a former slave turned sultan, understood the gravity of the Mongol threat. He fortified key cities along the northwestern frontier, such as Lahore and Multan, creating a buffer zone to absorb the initial shock of Mongol attacks. These fortifications were not just physical walls. They were also symbols of defiance, rallying local populations to resist invaders. The cities often employed innovative defensive measures. In one siege, defenders created a ditch filled with mud and water behind a breached wall, trapping Mongol troops who tried to advance. Even when cities fell, the Mongols paid a heavy price in casualties, delaying their campaigns and buying the Sultanate time to regroup. Alauddin Khalji, who ruled from 1296 to 1316, took a more proactive approach. Recognizing the need for a professional standing army, he implemented sweeping reforms. He centralized the military and introduced salary systems for soldiers. Khalji also expanded the use of war elephants that the Mongols, unfamiliar with such creatures, struggled to counter. Khalji's military strategies were not purely defensive. He launched preemptive strikes against Mongol raiders and fortified key roads to prevent deeper incursions. His efforts culminated in a decisive victory at the Battle of Kili in 1299, where his forces repelled a massive Mongol army. The chronicler Ziya al-Din Barani later praised Khalji's tenacity, though he also noted the extreme measures he took, including the brutal execution of Mongol prisoners. The Mongols were masters of psychological warfare, but they encountered an equally cunning adversary in the Delhi Sultanate. Delhi rulers used diplomacy and displays of might to deter full-scale invasions. On one occasion, Balban arranged for 200,000 soldiers and 50,000 horsemen to greet Mongol envoys, a spectacle designed to intimidate and convince them of the Sultanate's strength. Culturally, the Sultanate absorbed many refugees fleeing Mongol conquest in Central Asia, including Persian scholars, artisans, and even Mongols who converted to Islam. These new arrivals enriched the Sultanate's military and administrative systems, turning the knowledge of Mongol tactics against them. The Mongols' failure to conquer India wasn't solely due to Indian resistance. By the late 13th century, the once unified Mongol Empire was fracturing. Rival Khanates such as the Ilkhanate in Persia and the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia competed for power, diverting resources and attention away from India. Many of the raids on India were conducted by renegade Mongol factions, not the full might of the empire. This fragmentation weakened the Mongols' ability to sustain prolonged campaigns. While they could inflict immense damage during raids, they lacked the cohesion and resources for a full-scale invasion of a well-defended and vast territory like India. Religion played an intriguing role in the Mongol failure. Some chroniclers suggest that Genghis Khan's advisors warned him against invading India, citing bad omens. The sighting of unfamiliar animals like rhinoceroses was interpreted as a divine warning. While such accounts are anecdotal, they reflect the Mongols' reliance on spiritual guidance, which may have influenced their strategic decisions. For the Delhi Sultanate, religion was a unifying force. Despite ruling over a predominantly Hindu population, the Muslim sultans managed to rally both Muslims and Hindus to defend their land against a common enemy. This unity and diversity proved to be one of India's greatest strengths. In the end, the Mongols' failure to conquer India was the result of multiple factors. The subcontinent's harsh geography, the resilience and adaptability of the Delhi Sultanate, the cultural and psychological resistance of its people, and the internal divisions within the Mongol Empire. Each of these factors alone might have slowed the Mongols, but together, they created an insurmountable barrier. India remained a tantalizing prize that the Mongols could never claim. Their attempts left a legacy of destruction and resilience, shaping the history of the subcontinent. As we look back at this chapter of history, it's a testament to the strength of a land and its people who stood firm against one of the greatest empires the world has ever known. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more captivating tales from history. Let us know in the comments. Which historical moment should we explore next?